A big thank you to all the companies that are helping support the Real ResQ podcast. SR3 Rescue Concepts, Life Saving Systems Corporation, Breeze Eastern, and Flippin Coffee. If you've not sent these companies an email, you absolutely need to. You want to know why? Well, it's because they all work together. When you email them, they will absolutely set you up for success. All of them have a great working relationship with each other. For helicopter training, contact SR3. For hoist information, contact Breeze Eastern. For rescue equipment, contact LSC. And for a great cup of coffee, contact Flippin Coffee. SR3 Rescue Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. They are a training company that can help your training program with standards, safety, and maybe just an FAA refresher. They are ready to help your agency keep up to date with current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. The training staff is awesome, with certified flight instructor pilots and experienced crew members that offer training in rescue, medical, tactical, firefighting, and ground operations. SR3 has partnered with Petzl to assist with any personal protective equipment inspection courses and the highly specific Lazard, which is used for helicopter, cliff, and mountain rescue. In addition to that, if you listen to our episode with Hans and Alvin, episode 10, and they used it on a boat rescue, which was amazing. So contact them today. SR3RescueConcepts.com. That's SR3RescueConcepts.com, or see them over on Instagram at SR3_rescue. Then we have Life Saving Systems Corporation, who manufactures the world's toughest helicopter rescue gear. From their Triton harness, which is my favorite rescueman harness, to the rescue basket, litters, and of course the most popular hoist hook in helicopters, the D-Lock. The team at LSC cuts, bends, welds, and machines these products into existence every day. We do our work so you can do yours. LSC, tough gear for tough jobs. Check them out today at lifesavingsystems.com and follow them on Instagram at Rescue Gear. That's at ResQGEAR. Breeze Eastern. Since the very first helicopter rescue in November 1945, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured superior rescue hoist solutions. While much of the technology and unique mission requirements have changed over the past 75 years, their commitment to the rescuer operations and those rescued has not. Contact Breeze today by visiting breeze-eastern.com. That's breeze-eastern.com. Then we have Flippin Coffee. At Flippin Coffee, we roast each batch to perfection to bring a smooth, delicious cup of coffee that you won't find in most other brands. We like to keep it simple, brewing real coffee, using real ingredients for real coffee drinkers. Contact them today at flippincoffee.com to order your bag of freshly roasted coffee beans. As a bonus, you type in the promo code, all capital letters, REALRESQ, and you get 10% off. Thank you to all of our sponsors who are helping make this podcast grow. It's much appreciated. Our next guest and I had another amazing conversation. Yeah, it's all about rescue and everything that they did in the helicopter. It's awesome. I love what they did. They went above and beyond into areas that they never expected to go, which is always a fun story to hear. In addition to that, since he got out of the military, he has been roasting his own coffee. He's made his own business called Flippin Coffee. And Flippin Coffee has been a big help here at this podcast, and I much appreciate it. So without further ado, United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 663, Mr. Caleb Flippin. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real ResQ podcast. I got a killer guest with me today. Mr. Caleb Flippin, United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 663. What's up, Caleb? How are you, my friend?
What is up? I'm so happy to be here, man.
Dude, I'm psyched to have you here, man. I appreciate it like a lot. This is awesome. So if you don't mind, tell everybody about yourself and kind of fill everybody in what you are or what you're doing now and so on and so forth. How you got into search and rescue, how you got into Coast Guard, how you got to be a swimmer, the whole resume. I want to hear it all.
Awesome. All right. I mean, I guess there's no real place to start other than the beginning. So my name's Caleb. I'm from Tennessee. I actually never saw an ocean until I left for boot camp. Never, no swim team or anything like that. So,
what a good way to start.
In the Coast Guard for 10 years. I started that as basically just a young, really troubled kid in Tennessee that I was probably going to go to jail. I've always said that swimmers, I believe, were wired different. Any elite group is the SEALs, the PJs, and you can tell that just by looking at us on the hangar deck. And not that I'm not saying we're better, we're just different. And yeah, everybody was jealous of our job until it was nighttime and it was cold, and you're like, where are you going? So yeah, wired differently. I was just a really wild, undisciplined kid. So I got with my father and my stepmother, and within a year or two, got that somewhat disciplined enough to realize that I needed to leave this small town and go join the military. And it was going to be the Coast Guard. And I was flipping through the recruiter's book because my father was a Ranger, and he gave me some advice. He's like, because I wanted to be a SEAL. That's what I wanted to do. I want to be the best of the best. And he said, why don't you learn to go and save a life first? Just do me this favor, as your old man, do this favor for me. And I did it. I thought it made a lot of sense. Okay, I'll go do this. And I wanted to impress my father. I've always looked up to him. He's my hero. And so I did. And I was going through the recruiter's handbook, and I saw the guy jumping out of the helicopter. I was like, I want to do that.
That's what I did.
Yeah. And the recruiter laughed at me. He goes, good luck. He goes, everybody does. And I was like, okay. So get through boot camp, get up to Kodiak, Alaska. First time on a plane was heading to boot camp. And get up to Kodiak, Alaska, make it through there to the airman program. And, man, I've got Will Milam. I've got Joseph Metzler. Those are the two that really stick out.
Nice.
Grzynia was up there, too. Joey Grzynia was up there, who just retired, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah, got up there, did my airman program, and yeah, they had my number going to A school. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you know what? We're gonna throw a couple name drops in there right now because I talk about it in other areas, but my mentors were Jason Bunch, Bob Watson, and Will Milam, and all these guys, Joe Metzler, John Hall, that was my shop. Those were my mentors when I got out of school. And when you say they had your number, you walked into school with those guys.
Yeah, walked into school. And this is something I know we just talked about here recently. Nobody talks about the John Hall, Jason Bunch, Bob Watson era of A school. Bro, can we at least admit the guys coming out of A school were a little bit harder?
I'll give it to you. And I'm not taking anything away from my instructors, but you had some gnarly guys that knew it was up.
We walked in, and this is around the time they're making the movie. So,
nice. Dude, The Guardian. Excellent.
Yeah. So people are coming and touring the school every now and then. And I'm not going to lie, man, I had 7 no-goes within the first 3 weeks.
Wow.
I had no problems with numbers or anything like that. It was a head game when I got into the pool. I was getting distracted with things outside of the military. And I'll give it to Hall though. He did pull me aside and was like, what's your problem? What's going on? Yeah.
Good John.
And basically gave me a choice and said that, I could go back to the class behind us and just kind of get a fresh start these few weeks in, because they knew physically from me being in Kodiak that I could put out. So I wasn't the slowest in anything and could put up the numbers, and usually my head was right. But So I was just distracted. Anyways, he gave me that opportunity, and I went through the rest of school with no more no-goes, man. I couldn't get a single one. So, and it was I was going to go back to a boat or wherever they wanted to send me if I took that shot and failed, So I just, gutted it up. So, but I'll tell you what, though, there was nothing more intimidating than getting to school and hearing about Bob Watson. And the rumor was at school he had 4 DFCs and he only took 2 because those were the hard ones. So this is our Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
Who's like, when we would see him working out with, I think was going to be his future wife or girlfriend or whatever, like he is like giving her commands on how to do a squat the same way as if I was standing in front of him. We're like, is he just this on all the time?
You're talking John Hall and Brooke and his wife Brooke.
Yes.
So yeah.
On all the time. I'm even with his wife. And we're like, this dude's a machine.
Yeah.
Like, no way. And we could always tell at A school by who came out wearing what was going to happen. I swore Bunch hated me. I swore he hated me. He just had my number. And if he came out first, I was like, we're going to do a lot of sprints and a lot of running. And it was going to be the worst workout for my body type because he's a shorter guy. Yeah. So when Ornat came out for these long runs, I was like, yeah. You do the long runs, man. I'm 6'4". I got long legs. I'm good. I'm like 165 pounds at the time, and I was just skinny and running.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
But Hall came out. Hall was just going to make us work out.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. And so you had a very different aspect that I did. Cause like I said, I was in the shop with those guys for well over a year. And, they were mentors to me. And every time, like, I remember going on swimmer flights with Jason Bunch and him being like, oh, dude, try it like this, and this. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. He's like, I know. What are you doing? And then
Bunch took me underwater one day because I was doing a multi. And I remember I went to go underwater and I inhaled water. My mask got ripped off. It was the beginning of school. I just forget. I was underwater. Next thing I remember, I'm on the side of the pool. And I'm like puking up water. And I think 3 of us went to the medical that day. A couple of us went that day. And I know there were a few DORs. I just remember coming back and just, not quitting. And Bunch, the next time I was in the pool, he just wanted to test me. And he took me to the bottom of the pool and I had no air in my lungs. And the last thing I remember doing before I blacked out was like just the cross chest control and just kicking to the surface. That's all I was doing, just holding the surface. And when I woke up on the surface, the Bunch going, all right, good job.
Yeah.
Just, what happened? And I just thumbs up. I gave a thumbs up. The same thing I did when I blacked out, which was control cross chest and kick. That's all I was doing. I was like, I don't think he realized I completely blacked out underwater. I didn't even remember up there.
Oh my God. Well done. Well done to Jason, John, and Bob. Good job.
Right, yeah.
Well done, Caleb. All right, you made it.
And they sent me to New Orleans shortly after that. So I was sick. And I came back to sewing class, and they were like, oh, by the way, we picked our units. You have Mobile or New Orleans. Keep in mind, Katrina just happened.
Oh, wow.
As we were heading to our school, Katrina happened. So I show up. I was like, I'm not going to Mobile. I'm here for search and rescue. And Ornat pulled me to the side and was like, I didn't really care. I had 7 no-goes anyways. I knew I had the last pick.
Yeah.
Ornat was like, dude, you're probably going to get more search and rescue than anybody in your class. It's a busy unit besides, Kodiak and stuff. As far as volume, it's busier. As far as like big, more and more dangerous. I mean, every case is dangerous, but it's not like Kodiak weather.
Right.
The hurricane.
Well, yeah. I mean, the hurricanes and stuff that rolls through New Orleans are ridiculous. And
every year,
I mean, heck, I was just talking to, a pilot that was stationed down there, and he goes out and is pulling guys out that had their legs ripped off because of, fishermen get it wrapped up in the rigging. And next thing you know, you guys are, Coast Guard's getting launched out. Go get them. So
we had a lot of medevacs while I was still getting qualified. I remember Pierre Boucher had one oil rig guys getting transported out by helicopters, walked into a tail rotor.
Man.
I had many medevacs on those oil rigs. There's not as many down there now because you have all the private companies like Priority One and stuff that those oil companies employ, which is good. I'm glad there's a place for us to go after a swimmer tour, because that was always a big thing. We didn't really have anywhere to go in the private sector, right. And now and that's probably why you're in Saudi Arabia.
It's one of the reasons.
But, so New Orleans was, I hit the ground running, got qualified fast, had a great shop. Actually, still to this day, I think that was one of the best shops I was ever a part of, because those guys still took me in after they had been through so much. And I never appreciated the mental strain they were under until like now that I've had my time and have been out and gotten older and matured, because man, I was 21.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine like dealing with a 21-year-old ready to go. And, these guys have been pulling out, kids out of rooftops and stuff.
Right.
So they were ready to snap, but they still didn't. And they carried on every day. Kurt Peterson, Chief Damata. I can name off names. Chris Monville were some of the guys that, Izzy, Israel Parker, some of the guys that I could say that really kind of just took me under the wing, and, Dave Foreman, all those guys, and had just a really great shop down there. Ian McPhillips, I could go on for days. And Kurt Peterson, he was the first class down there, and I remember the first time he yelled at me, dude, for not cleaning the swimmer seat properly. He's like, "Go out and clean the swimmer seat," and I thought I did. I don't know. I was worried about other things. I was 21. I back from that flight, and it still smelled like mildew when he was going out. Boy, he was fired up. He just pulled. I made sure the swimmer seats were clean after that.
That's good.
New Orleans was busy, man. It was my first SAR case in New Orleans was the biggest learning lesson, and that's where I truly appreciated my shop. So I get qualified. I'm there. First night, SAR case goes off, and that's New Orleans. It's a lot of times it's 3 or 4 times a night. Most of the times you get back and they bagged out 2 duty crews, and the backup guys flying in. So we need 2 more duty guys to take on for the rest of the day for that 24-hour shift, so those guys can go home and sleep.
Yeah.
So I get there ready to stand duty, take what I can off this shop that has just been through hell, dude, for months, and living in trailers, and and it's still wrecked down there. I still saw blue roofs of the tarps and stuff every flight, even after had left after 4 or 5 years. So I go on this SAR case, get launched, boat on fire. This is a classic multi. We just had this right in the A school. I was like, I remember this multi. Did they know? So it's boat on fire, people in the water. Flying out, I could see the fire. Right through the cockpit, right through the windshield.
Yep.
See, all of a sudden, we see the fire, and I'm like, okay, and I'm just sitting there waiting. I'm patient, brand new. Fly over, you see, and I'm not joking, just like in multis at A school, you see a raft, and then you see a strobe light with a guy who didn't make it to the raft. So there's 2 in the
no way.
I'm like, boom, I already know what I'm doing. I got my plan. Fins are on, homie. Put me in, coach. The pilot goes, we're going to call that boat on over. Because they're in like miles. I could see the boat at night in NVGs, because the boat, it's a Coast Guard boat. And he's a few miles away. Now, knowing what I know now, and we know that you can go under at any minute, any second. It doesn't, they're gone. So like time, every second matters.
Yeah.
And I'm wanting to say something, but he's a lieutenant. It's my first duty night. I didn't know what to say, other than like, I'm just like hoping these guys don't go down, and I'm just like ready to get in. And then I think the mech was even looking at me like, "Are you gonna argue?" So the boat gets these guys, and we go back, and I was so upset. But at this time, I was a completely different person. I kept everything inside, everything, like just didn't talk, didn't let emotion out. And I get back, and the shop just starts kind of like, "Hey, so what happened last night? It comes up, and I was like, well, this happened. And then, the pilot said this, and they were like, no, no. And they were like, man, we got to talk about it. And everyone's like, you have to speak up, because a lot pilots are not rescue swimmers. You are the search and rescue expert. You are. They do not. And this has rattled in my head for years. They do not think search and rescue. They think keeping that aircraft in the air. That is their job. That is what they are trained for day one. Flight mechanics, electricians, everything is trained on that job and keeping that aircraft in the air. We are trained from day one, search and rescue, life support, EMT. That's what we are. And so we are the expert when it comes to that. When it comes to life saving, we are first. And that's why we're always referred to. And from then on, I never not spoke up. And I had many, sometimes clashes, but ultimately being the youngest person in the aircraft, because of what I was trained to do at A school and what that shop taught me, I was able to speak up, and we saved so many lives in New Orleans because of it. Swimmers are able to put themselves in that position. Okay, if I was in that situation, what would I do? And oftentimes that helps in search and rescue. And it was talking with that shop who had so much experience, not just from Katrina, just from New Orleans.
Right.
Made me the swimmer that I was, and prepared me for all the SART cases after.
Dude. Wow, man. That's crazy. There's so much to learn from that too. And
just that one SART case, like, that sucked, but I ultimately came away with a lot of knowledge. I mean, that shop was rated for 12 swimmers, which is crazy because it's so busy. But at the time there was probably like 10 in there, and 10 of them, between all of them, first, I mean, chiefs, a couple first, seconds, and all of them had been in Katrina for the last several months.
Yeah.
And the knowledge there just from that alone, plus all the years that they had been doing it in New Orleans, the busiest air station as far as volume that the Coast Guard has. Like, so when I got there, it was like 400 and something SAR cases a year. It's like,
yeah, it's a lot. New Orleans has a lot. I'll tell you, I almost got to debrief this with you as well. Come on, man. We got to talk about this. So for everybody that's going to be the new guy, everybody that's getting to the aircraft for the first couple of times, the first case, do not be afraid to speak up. You have to speak up. Like, and I was with you. I remember being in the aircraft, my first case, and even my first couple of training flights. And, I remember saying something to somebody when we got back, and they looked at me sideways. They were like, why didn't you say something in the aircraft? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And that was a wake up moment for me too. And I think everybody has it. If we can help anybody that's going out right now, you can be respectful, and you can come over ICS and you can say, hey, how about this idea? See where it goes. You might get somebody that's more senior says, you know what? I appreciate you saying that. This is why we're not going to do it. Or they're going to come back and say, yeah, why are we going to let these guys sit in the water for another 30 minutes? Go get them.
Yeah, exactly. And that exact scenario happened to me 3 years later. A SAR case where the guy was overdue. We flew out, and it was out towards Mississippi. So there's a lot of little islands and stuff out there, a lot of marshland. A lot of places to get lost, man, in New Orleans. And between the New Orleans, the AOR is huge. It goes all the way to Florida. It's crazy. All the way to Texas. All that marshland, swampland, everything. And I remember we were looking for a guy. And I was on NVGs. And you know how far you can see with night vision goggles.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, if this guy's out here, if I was him and I was in trouble, I would try to get to an island at least. At least I'm dry. Like, that's all. And I would always be looking for those. But we have to do a search pattern.
Right.
We're in the search pattern, and it's late. This guy's been gone for about 48 hours. Like, he's been missing and by this time, like, I'm concerned because now we're dealing with dehydration and exposure.
Right. Yep.
So, he's overdue. It's like, okay, hopefully he can signal us because it's just dark out here. And so I see a flicker outside of the search pattern because of night vision goggles. See much further than, because it's just so bright. It's just a flicker, but it looks just like a fire. And I was like, that is a fire. I say it, I bring it up, and, Mark, I've got a flicker over here I'd really like to go and check out. And the pilot challenged me. He's like, no, we have to complete the search pattern. We got a guy who's been missing for 48 hours. He's just at this flicker's just outside of the search pattern on an island.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
I said this. I voiced it again, and why I'm concerned and why we should break away from this search pattern. Because there seems to be a habit of just checking boxes.
Right.
And what pilots are supposed to do. I'm not knocking them for it. Yeah. But when you get obsessed with that, it becomes the job. And unfortunately, when lives are at stake, we're not checking boxes. We're saving lives. You know?
And that goes beyond just pilots too. That's everybody in the aircraft that checks that box. And
everything. Pilots are there to back us up for sure, and they have to be squared away. There's so many knobs and buttons, but that gets you into a checking the box because you got to make sure everything's right or this aircraft's going down. Again, keeping us alive.
Yep. But
it doesn't translate over into when it comes to saving lives. And so I got challenged a second time, and I got rank pulled.
In the aircraft?
In the cockpit.
And, that's interesting. That should never happen, by the way, ever.
It did not happen. So when the rank was pulled, I voiced again for the last time, and the co-pilot and the flight mechanic then backed me up. Because it was this point I was about to, like call op center right now. Like I'm challenging this entire flight if you're going to pull rank on me. That's where I was at.
Wow.
At this point, I didn't trust my pilot so he agrees to go and fly over. So this is not over yet. And even if I'm wrong, I need to know that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I know you can understand that. You've been in, and you need to at least know you're wrong. Because if you go back without checking that flicker, if we finish this search pattern and we go home, it's going to bother me.
Yeah.
It's going to bother me. Like, man, it could have been the guy. So we fly over. We get right overhead. This is what you see next to a fire and a wrecked boat.
Some dude waving. No way.
Promise you. So he goes, well, what do you think? Is this the guy? And I come up immediately to the pilot. Sir, regardless, he's in trouble. We're getting him. Like, even if it's not the guy we're looking for, we found somebody who is clearly in distress. It was the guy we were looking for, by the way. So we get back, and this comes up to speaking up. We get back to the, I don't say anything. We save him. I go down, I get him. We get him back home to his wife and his kid. He's happy. He was able to just to get the fire. He used what battery power he had left to start a fire on this deserted island. Like there was nothing there. And so we get back home, and he's like, we do the brief, and he's like, well, I think that went fairly well. And I've been holding in. And I just rehashed everything, and ultimately we did end it well, and he did apologize. I think it was a really big learning lesson for him, and he trusted me from now on. We had flights after, and I always watched him a little closer, but ultimately I earned his trust. And I was young too, and so sometimes I'm young. I tend to be like very direct, and that can be off-putting. So, but ultimately, the crew was happy with it, and we saved the guy's life. I mean,
that's awesome.
That was a good one. That was a pretty good. I was just that was a huge learning lesson. That was just what I had learned from that first. It came back 3 years later. Like, if I don't say anything, like we'd have left the guy. That could have been his last night. We don't know.
Right. Yeah, especially down in when you talk about New Orleans and southern United States, it's hot during the day. Out on a deserted island, there's no water down there. Yeah. So. And
it's not fresh water because it's all salty. It's,
You're
talking off the coast of Biloxi.
Yeah. Wow, man. Life saved. Check box.
Yeah.
I like checking that box.
That box is check, but we can not check these boxes to be sure we get this guy. Like, I get it, and the pilots are there to do that for a reason, but it's sometimes a mentality that can be a hindrance to what we swimmers need to do.
Yeah. Dang, man.
There's no checking boxes in the water, man.
Oh, that's such a true statement. Yeah. Yeah. Is there a box for Labo's case at 50-foot waves? I don't think so.
Yeah, I was telling my girlfriend about that one. I'm like, it's funny because so I got a funny story about this guy. Had a shoulder surgery, and we get every now and then you get a mech that doesn't like you. Would try to get me going on a food run. I was like, no. I was being a butthole. I was like, no. I had to stand duty because I had shoulder, but I'm not doing anything. You're just like, I just had shoulder surgery and I was young and cocky. But ultimately, we got in a little argument, and the next day he tried to not only write me up, which was crazy for not going on a food run, but he tried to get me to go out and stand cloud watch because they were defueling a plane. Homie, I'm a rescue swimmer. That is like, this is how I'm thinking. I'm like, that is an insult. Like, go get an airman to watch the clouds. So I go to stand up and say something, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to say something that's going to get me in a lot of trouble. And Lobenstein, that motherfucker, just mother effer every other word. Kicks the watch captain door into the ops in there or whatever to maintenance. Crawls down the watch captain's throat. All you can hear is yelling. Comes back into the swimmer shop and is like, "You with me for the day?" That little Boston accent. I was like, just out of Lob's way, man. It was mother effer every other word every day. He was mad at somebody, but I love that guy. He was funny.
I love Labo. Oh my god, that guy.
He's the epitome of the oldest of old school in the Coast Guard swimmer program.
Yeah, yeah.
If there is a definition of salty swimmer,
yeah, Labo's one of the guys for sure. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Man, freaking Labo.
Well,
you while you were in New Orleans, you actually had, and this is one of the things you and I talked about offline as well, is you had a pretty gnarly event. And even though you weren't there for Katrina, you got a little something of your own here and got an award for it. So I'd like to touch on this for a minute and kind of get a rundown. It's like, because this in particular case right here, you guys went to Missouri and you know, when I was reading this, I'm like, Missouri, there's no coastline in Missouri. What? So, yeah, it's very cool. A very unique case. So if you're good with it, I'm going to read the air medal here and then you can kind of walk us through. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely, buddy.
Awesome. All right. So citation to accompany the award of the air medal to Caleb S. Flippin, Aviation Survival Technician, 3rd Class, United States Coast Guard. Petty Officer Flippin is cited for meritorious achievement in aerial flight from 18 to 22 March 2008 while serving as rescue swimmer aboard Coast Guard Rescue Helicopter 865C 6551 during the catastrophic Midwest floods of 2008. A series of severe storms combined with an early spring snow thaw that led to rapid raising waters throughout Mississippi River Valley, overtopping numerous levees and flooding cities throughout the Midwest. Launching from Air Station New Orleans on the evening of the 18th of March, the Coast Guard helicopter rescue crew flew more than 500 miles to Cape Girardeau, Missouri. If I pronounce that wrong, I'm sorry, but that's what it looks like to me. Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Dodging thunderstorms and battling the turbulent instrument meteorological conditions on the edge of a large cold front. Arriving the next day, as the first air rescue asset on scene, the crew alertly spotted a man signaling with a flashlight from his flooded home. In torrential rains and sustained winds of 40 knots, Petty Officer Flippin voluntarily deployed from a 120-foot hover through live power lines, trees, and light poles to rescue the survivor. Once the man was safely in the helicopter, the crew learned of 2 other victims trapped in a nearby house. Once again, Petty Officer Flippin volunteered to be hoisted through the treacherous obstacles to evaluate, assist, and recover 2 more adults. The following day, the crew of the 6551 responded to a flooded community on Coon Island, Missouri, where nearly 100 residents were trapped by rising waters. Repeatedly deployed from the helicopter to evaluate survivors, prepare them for recovery, and provide first aid when needed. Petty Officer Flippin expertly facilitated the rescue of 13 members of the community, including an infant and 2 children, for a total of 16 survivors rescued in 2 days. His brave actions, rescue skills, and stamina were instrumental in the Coast Guard's overall saving of 52 lives from the worst Missouri flooding in over 25 years. Petmaster Flippin's courage, judgment, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Dude, that is awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So, I mean, like, all right, so we had Katrina that happened, and that was a whirlwind, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows from the world, and it's weird to say that. But now, fast forward, 2008, like, who thinks you're going to Missouri? I mean, come on, man.
2008, honestly, was one of the worst years of my life, to believe it or not. And it was really rough for me. I was in the Coast Guard. I lost my best friend to an accidental shooting. I lost my brother to a kidnapping and murder by the Mexican cartel.
Oh, so God.
This all happened in 2008. So then we're here. I remember because I've had this St. Christopher around my neck. I'm not religious. If you look up who St. Christopher was and what he did and how he compares to being a swimmer, like the story of St. Christopher was wild because I didn't know it till after I became a swimmer. My father gave it to me as I left. And so I'm clutching this thing as we're flying. I'm about to do this 120-foot hoist when I'm up there. So that was with me. So all this comes to culmination 2008, and then I'm on duty, and they say, it's a nice night. I'm actually expecting to get to go to bed. Like, it was a nice night. And they're like, man, the SAR alarm goes off, and then it cuts off, and then they call me to the opposite. And they're like, you're on duty right now, right? Yeah, I was in here and did the brief earlier. I'm the guy. We're going to Missouri. Get ready. I'm like, what? And then they brief us and tell us it's big storm. They show us the radar, and I'm like, it looks like a hurricane on radar. You're just like, it's huge, just dark colors. And yeah, so we start flying. I have no extra clothes, nothing, we're just go. All right, let's go to Missouri. Well, the plan was to get up there, get to a hotel. We flew as deep into the storm as we could. And in a 65, it may not be as deep as a 60 can go, but it's a rough ride, man.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Taylor Carlisle she was my pilot, and Matt Lauder was my flight mechanic. We get up to some no known airport out in the middle of nowhere in Missouri, and ride out this storm, and are just waiting for it to just get low enough to where we can fly in behind it, just like we do in hurricanes.
Yeah.
We're going to do the same thing, but we're not over water. we're over a valley.
Yeah.
Like, it immediately just get in. These people have there's no book written for this other than it happened in Katrina on the coast. We're in a valley.
Yeah.
This is nuts. And I just see a beam of light. That first hoist was probably the scariest hoist that I've ever been in, but without the pilot and the co-pilot and the flight mechanic, especially the flight mechanic, if I could ever get a hold of the video, if Matt Lauder still has it, I'm still in contact with him. I've never seen a flight mechanic work so hard to keep the cable so still, because you're at 30, 40 knot winds, 120 foot.
Wow. Yeah.
Hoisted to an area no bigger than a car.
Holy cow.
In 30 to 40 knot winds between power lines, and they were still live. That's what scared me. I was going down, I started hearing bow, bow, bzzz, and I was like, oh no, these are, and I'm within distance of them. Like, I'm talking one swing, for one bad move from the helicopter to get that pendulum going.
Holy cow.
I see the video after this, these days are long done, and it's just Matt Lauder like working this cable. Like, I'm surprised he didn't rip it out of the right out of the hoist, man. But it's also, Taylor Carlisle that's up there and that's at the stick. And I don't care what anybody says about female pilots. She was the best pilot for that job that day, because she did an impossible hoist to an impossible area just to get a guy out of a house. And I get down there. Luckily, he's good. get him into a basket. What I didn't realize is when the basket was coming down, he had built his father had built this house because there was a flood like years and years before, and it flooded out the whole valley, just like what was happening now. So they built the house up. So I'm going and stepping for this basket, and I step right off that ledge because it's underwater still, but it's so I can't, and it's murky water. You know how it's not the ocean. I step right off of it and straddle this concrete ledge, and thought I broke my tailbone. Like, I was like, what? And I just kind of, it's on camera, but I walk it off. It's on the hoist camera, but I'm so small. Like, it's hard to tell what happened. But Matt told me, he's like, I saw you fall. I was like, I'm good.
I rubbed some dirt on it. I'm all right.
He told me there was 2 more people down the road. So we went and got them. And then we were basically flying everywhere for the next 3 days. And I remember the next day, the 2 other crews got there. Now, keep in mind, this is the first time I've ever seen another swimmer on scene. And it's Shannon Brew. And he was staged at and this is a nice day. These guys get all up here the next day. It's nice weather. Like, it's flooding. Water is raging and still rising. Don't get me wrong. But it's sunny. Shannon's like, I walked up to him at this firehouse at the staging point for all these houses that are getting flooded. Some people are still able to get full drives and boats, and we're dropping people off there.
Yeah.
And Shannon's like running the mass casualty incident. Basically, he's just running this area. And I walk up, everyone's terrified. We're landing on roads and pulling people off and stuff and going down into houses. And I walk up and I'm like, what's up, brother? And we just smile. It's chaos everywhere. And 2 swimmers see each other, and it's like kindred spirits. And that's where I told you we're a little different.
Yeah.
We can sit there and just smile. And we're laughing about it because you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's chaos around us, but we're okay. And that's ultimately what lets them people know they're okay too. And then we get to, we end up seeing one of the other crews. And I remember they said that they landed in a parking lot, picked the people up, took them over to the airport, which is the final staging point that we were taking a lot of people, and flew back over the parking lot. 15 minutes later, it was underwater. So we knew the water was coming fast in a lot of areas. And so I remember going down to this house, and it's surrounded by water, and we knew there was another surge coming. And I go down, and this is where the infant comes in. And you always get somebody who, it's always a man who wants to be a bigger man than the man saving him.
Yep.
I ain't leaving. And it was a family. It was grandfather, grandmother, son, daughter-in-law, 2 kids, toddler and an infant. And it was the family. And the dad doesn't want to leave. Grandfather, you can tell he's old, and he's wanting to leave, but he's standing by his son. The wife was ready. So I convinced him to let me take the women and the children. And I was like, and I just told him, it's like, let me take them, at least get them safe. You can hang out here. And he's like, I didn't think I'd ever have to convince somebody to save them. Like, I'm telling you what's coming. Like, this house is going to be underwater. Like, and it could be minutes. And we're seeing it all over. Places we picked people up from, the houses were gone. Like, when we fly over, and sometimes minutes later. It's crazy how floodwater is. It's not the ocean, but it's very unforgiving. It's more focused. And and now I'm wondering how I've got a basket and I've got this small 65 and we're low on fuel, extremely low on fuel. I'm wondering how I'm going to get everybody up. I don't want the woman to go up with just the infant, but at the same time, I don't want to separate her from her baby. So now I'm thinking logistics and fuel. And I'm like, you may have to leave me. And the pilot's very aware of that. And Taylor Carlisle is a very rock solid pilot. She's not going to leave me if she doesn't have to, but if she has to, in order to save these people's lives. And, luckily, it didn't come to that, but I started having to think of how I'm going to get people in there. So I decided to put the grandma in first, and then let the mom and the baby ride in the basket together. And I was just going to go up with them. And so she can hand the baby off to the grandmother. Somebody had to be in that helicopter with that baby.
Right.
And then I held on to actually I ended up holding on to the baby and handing it off to the grandmother. And then the mother took the toddler. That's how I did it. because I was scared that the baby was going to be dropped, and I didn't trust anyone, even the mother. I let her hold on to the toddler because he was bigger. And I don't know. I just didn't want that baby to fall. And I only really trusted myself in that moment to be calm and level headed, because water's coming, and the mom knew it. She had that mother's intuition. She wanted to get her kids safe. And she wasn't going to hurt the baby at all. Not that. I wanted to be so sure that baby didn't get hurt. So we get them up into the aircraft, and the toddler, man, just stoic, not even scared. And then we get back and we fly, and then she asked me to go and get her husband and father. So we fly back, and I convinced Taylor, like, I'm talking zero fuel. Zero fuel. I didn't even have time to talk to him. Like, when I just went down there, and I basically told him, I was like, it's coming, man. And now that his wife and his kids weren't there, he was ready to go. That was my plan all along. If I got the wife and kids away from him and separated them, he's going to want to go and be with them, because he's just wanting to protect them. Right. And the only thing he knows how to do is protect that at his home where he's comfortable. I didn't think about that. Like, you're taking a person, and this is Katrina now too. These people stayed because they want to be safe in their homes. And now, like, I'm sure all the swimmers dealt with that as well. Like, people not wanting to go, and it's not over.
Right.
We dealt with that. And then I remember a funny thing happening. I did an interview. I remember it was on YouTube, and I look at it, and I'm so skinny and white and frail.
I saw it. It's cute.
No sleep. And I'm like, interview? What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, just tell me what happened. And then he turns the camera on and didn't say anything. It's not like a conversation that we're having. He's like, what happened? I'm like, dude, I can't remember the last 3 days. Like, I haven't even slept. I've had nothing but 2 MREs. Like, come on, man. Like, and so I tried to get through that. And I remember being at the airport, and a reporter was there. And Olav Sabo, Commander Sabo, was like, you want to talk to that guy right there. And she comes over and puts the microphone or a recording device in my face. And I'll never forget what I said. It was the first thing that came to mind. And she goes, what do you do? I go, I get people out of bad situations. I turned around and left.
Oh, that is awesome.
That. Oh God, it was Olaf. He's like, the guy who gets people out of bad situations. They got the news article. And when we finally got back, but yeah, Shannon Brew and Pierre Boucher all got there. They were the other 2 crews and did some saving that those next days, but they got all the good weather. I was there on the cold, real cold, rainy day, and the next day it's sunny and beautiful. So yeah. It was a good day.
That's awesome. Well done. Well done. Whole crew, man. Killer.
Yeah, that voice was to this day still, I mean, it makes me sweat sometimes thinking about it, or get that deep. I mean, it could just one false move, and I can never thank Matt Lauder and Taylor Carlisle enough for keeping that plane steady, because they did realize it at the time, but now looking back, it's like 6 feet, man. I was electrocuted.
Yeah.
And in those winds is unheard of. Matt Lauder, I believe to this day, is the best flight mechanic to ever be in the Coast Guard, because I did a lot of cases with him, and I've never seen such surgical precision in chaos.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was just hanging. I was like,
yeah.
All right, let's not die.
Hey, nice shout out. I like that. That's good. That's good. Dude, that's awesome, man. Well done.
And then I ended up getting on, like, the other ones that I sent you, like the Naval Helicopter Association wanted me to have me out, and then New Orleans sent me around to a few dinners and let me meet a couple admirals for it, and yeah.
And you were the face of the Coast Guard for a while. Well done.
A few days.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, the PA, I'm friends with her now. She's like, it seems like every time I'm coming to New Orleans, I'm needing to take a picture of you. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get out the shop, and nobody wants everyone talking about Katrina. So, of course.
Yeah. Man, that's badass, dude. Good for you. Good job. Good job, dude. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing the stories with me, man. That's awesome.
Anytime, man. Stories are what we have. And, I'm not a big picture taker. But I like to sit back and think. I don't have many people I can sit here and talk about swimmer stuff, because they don't get it. They just look at me and they're like, dude, I've got detectives, because I train with detectives. I compete in martial arts and jiu-jitsu, and I train with detectives and cops and stuff. And I remember this one guy, he's I believe he's a marshal or something. He's like, man, I heard about you guys. Were you a real swimmer? I was like, And he's like, a real one. I'm like, as opposed to like a Coast Guard rescue. So he goes, dude, we're always told you guys are unicorns. It's like, no, we exist.
Yeah.
We're a bit creepier and just kind of lurk in the shadows.
Oh my God, that's great.
It is a funny conversation, but it's really there's no story sharing or anything like that. So this is a nice relief to get to come on and talk about swimmers, and then get to listen to it and hear this. Like if I was a new swimmer and this podcast, anything like it existed, the ability that you have to just sit here and talk and joke, yeah, it's funny, but it's like this in almost every shop. And then you learn stuff too, because like, oh dude, I never thought about that. That was one of the biggest things was after a SAR case, sitting down, like, guys, what did we learn? You know, what did we do? What'd you do wrong? What would you change looking back? You know, because no SAR case is the same, but those lessons, I became the swimmer that I was by learning from the Kurt Petersons, the Dave Foremans, all those guys, you know, Chris Monville, the guys ahead of me, you guys that did it before me, going into those shops as a new swimmer, like you want to be cocky and part of the men, but you haven't earned anything. And the best thing that I would say is to listen. I didn't do a lot of that until it was too late. I wanted to learn the hard way, but I would have listened more. That was probably the biggest learning lesson. Like all that experience in every shop you're going to go to, and there's going to be a wealth of knowledge and experience, even if it's not specific search and rescue, because we all know it's luck of the draw.
Right.
But like the unfortunate ones like me that, you know, was always lucky in New Orleans.
Always lucky. So it's funny you say that, because I actually, you know, for us, it's lucky. For somebody else, it's unlucky. They're having a bad day. You get people out of a bad situation.
It's a bad situation. I get to Atlantic City after New Orleans. I was like, finally a relaxing tour. First duty day. SAR alarm only. Dang it. I said dang it out loud. And then I went, okay, went off. And then it was a pretty gory case, actually. So I was the chief Smarto was like, it's probably best that it was you coming from New Orleans. You know, the thing, you know, I had Pepe Carrere up there, obviously. He's very experienced. But in a place like Atlantic City, typically there's thirds and seconds. Like you can do a whole tour up there without even doing a case.
Yeah.
Like, we all know there are units out there that don't do much SAR. So I was very fortunate to go to New Orleans, and it became a second home. Like I still go back there and visit every now and
then. Man, that's awesome.
I missed that shop though. That was a cool shop. My favorite shop of all.
Yeah. It's those shops that really stay with you for a long time. You know,
the Kodiak shop was epic as an airman. I wasn't there as a swimmer. But the New Orleans shop I was my first shop, so it's always gonna stick with me. It's like first girlfriend, just like it's
like your first girlfriend. Oh my God, that is such a true statement. That's awesome.
First girlfriend, first love. It's there. You know, if you're embarrassed by it or if you loved it, you know, either way, you're never gonna forget it.
Nope, that's a true statement. That's awesome.
Sure.
Oh man.
And I mean, there was swimmers that I butted heads with, but like that have reached out to me when we, you know, we've lost swimmers that have gotten out, like my good friend Dustin Bernatovich, and you know, I butted heads with Kurt Peterson when he was there. But all in all, he's probably the best chief I served under because he was so hard on me, and I was able, you know, he was hard on me for a reason because I needed it. And he was one of the first people that reached out to me when my good friend Dustin Bernatovich passed away. I mean, we were best friends. He lived just a few hours from me.
Yeah.
And so after he passed, Kurt was one of the first. Like, I was like, man, we butted heads. Like, but it's the brotherhood, man. It's like, you know, you can hate and butt heads with each other, but at the end of the day, we do have a very, very close connection and bond on something that we've all had to get through. Even if we didn't do it together, we all know, like, okay, you got the seal of approval because you made it through swimmer school.
Right.
Regardless of what I think of you as a person.
Right. Yeah. As soon as you pin those crows on and you get your coin, welcome to the brotherhood. It's
Now.
So
learning.
yeah, totally. So, well, I'll tell you what, man, the floor is yours. You can, if you want to expand on anything else, well, I've got you.
I think that for swimmers out there, I know like my biggest thing coming out of the swimmer program and coming out of the Coast Guard was what are we going to do? And I struggled. And, I've had guys reach out to me like, hey, should I stay in or should I get out? I approach that conversation differently by who I have it with. Because depending on what their situation is. And, if you do get out and you want to reach out to someone like me, and I'm a business owner. I think I'm successful. I'm not a millionaire, but I have a house, I have a daughter, I have a truck, I have a coffee shop, I have a business.
Your coffee is badass, by the way. Just got to throw that out there. Flippin Coffee.
Flippin Coffee. Yeah. So flippincoffee.com. I started this during the pandemic. Swimmers have a very hard time sitting still. I don't know any of us really lazy.
That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, even if you get out and you don't stay in shape, like it's still our minds have to constantly. We're the kids that the parents want to put on ADD because we don't stop moving.
Right.
So,
I wish my wife could hear that right now, that statement, because it's such a true statement.
Oh yeah, and my girlfriend is she's the yin to my yang. She puts up with it. She puts up with me, and she's big into fitness. She manages a performance center, and she's always just like, dude, like I just get into my moments. I get in here, I get out here and start roasting coffee. Like I'm basically in my warehouse. I do a lot of roasting in I call this my office because it's where I put together my roast. It's how I think about what I'm gonna do. But the biggest thing is like back on track. Sorry, is there are other swimmers that have gotten out and doing incredible things, man. A lot of guys doing great things that I would say the biggest thing to take away with this, and I think what people are going to find out really quickly with your podcast, and this is why I'm so excited for it, is they're going to realize that there are a lot of people to talk to outside of the Coast Guard that can get you hooked up, that can be, we had mentors when we became swimmers. There's no reason why we still can't be mentors coming out and friends.
Totally agree.
Supporting each other. We definitely rise by lifting others up, regardless of what happened in the Coast Guard. As far as like your tour, who we have thought of as a person, like it's a brotherhood, and we should always be here for one another. And there are opportunities out there. I know a lot of swimmers that are creating businesses, which is fantastic for the swimmer community, because I'll tell you what, man, once I get to the point to where I'm hiring employees because this company is growing and I'm having to do a lot of cool stuff and I'm enjoying it, dude, swimmers, they work, they want to do great things. He's going to buy in, I would hire a swimmer in a heartbeat because he's also in the brotherhood, but there's opportunities and there's moments. I never had somebody actually sit down and go, hey man, I'm going to be, and until I was in my father, and then I was a swimmer. That was the first times that people actually sat down and wanted to mentor me. And so when I got out, I was looking for a mentor, and people were like, what do you need a mentor for, man? You're badass. I'm like, I don't know how to be a civilian. Did they offer you that class when you get out of the military, by the way?
The TAPS class, of course. Yeah.
This guy was too cocky to take it. 6 months
you're
out,
a dumbass. That's okay.
6 months out of the military, I looked at my daughter's mother. I went, I should have taken that class. I didn't get it. So there are opportunities. There are people like yourself doing great things, man, that are in the swimmer community. And I think this podcast is great because it's going to highlight those. It's going to highlight all those people out there doing great things. So getting out of the military, man, if you're a swimmer and you're lost, not even a swimmer, anybody, and you want people to reach out to, listen to this podcast, because I think you're going to hear a lot of cool stories and a lot of cool guys that are still out there killing the game, man. Well,
thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. So awesome. And you too.
I train jiu-jitsu. I teach jiu-jitsu, living here in Dallas, Texas. So if you guys come through Dallas and you want some coffee, absolutely stop in. This time next year, I'm planning to have at least another 1 to 2 shops put up. So yeah, just constantly growing. And I have an online, I sell a lot of coffee online. It's real coffee. So if you're a real coffee drinker, definitely check it out. But if you like frappuccinos, don't waste my time, homie. I don't do taking the cup.
Dude, that's awesome.
I pride myself on real coffee with real ingredients, and when people drink it, that's typically the first thing they say. So it became our mission statement: just real coffee, real ingredients for real coffee drinkers. So it's not just bean water; it's really good stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I roast it all myself, man. That's what I do. I sit in this garage. I'm here, and then I go to my coffee shop and I train a little bit too. So yeah, but that's me in a nutshell, man. Just I try to enjoy life, and even with all this pandemic stuff that's been going on, it has not slowed me down one bit. I created this company in the middle of COVID. I just couldn't do the corporate world anymore. I actually got really sad. I was really sad. I got what people call depressed. I call like I found out that was anxiety because I was just mad all the time. Like I was like, you people don't like. What do you mean you're late to work? I don't get it. Like you can't be late in the military. Like all this stuff, you know. I didn't deal well for. I got out in 2013, and man, I was a grumpy dude all the time. Recently, I've just kind of learned how to be happy, and I think that was the hardest part for me getting out of the military was still adjusting civilian life. And this pandemic is a prime example. I see a bunch of swimmers just getting out doing awesome things and not letting this what they call a pandemic slow them down. I don't know. It's just it's very hard to sit still, and an object in motion stays in motion, and that's you gotta just keep swimming. and,
Thank you, Dory. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
I was calling myself retired, man, and I decided I was going to do it, and I started it and never looked back. And
Dude, that's awesome.
A year in right now, and I've sent coffee to over 26 states. And, hundreds of thousands of miles my coffee bags have traveled in just this short year. So,
dude, that's awesome.
Time of my life, man, and all I'm doing is I just surround myself with like-minded people, and I have the right conversations, and I just don't allow myself to ever get into a slump. It's just surround myself with the right people, and I did that as a swimmer. So I'm having to relearn lessons I already learned in the civilian world. I'm like, if I just take it back, like I was around swimmers all the time. We were talking about what made us successful. Why am I not doing that now? So now I'm surrounding myself with entrepreneurs who are successful, and we're having the right conversation. So it's the same stuff, man. The same stuff they teach in swimmer school, honestly, it can translate over to real life. It's crazy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I love how you're killing it, man. Still, that's awesome.
This is what I do full time, coffee. I literally, people keep asking me, I have a small coffee shop right now. It's my first one. And they're like, you do this full time? I'm like, yeah. Like full time. I'm like, yeah, more than full time because I'm a business owner. So I have to, even when you guys are sleeping.
I get stuff going. Yeah, 24/7 rolling.
I roast, I bag, and I ship, and then I also set up. I supply my own coffee shop too. I have no supplier. I have nobody roasting my own coffee, which is actually a big thing. A lot of people don't know. Most coffee shops don't. There's only 2 here in Dallas that I know of that actually roast their own coffee. Everybody else finds people like me to roast their coffee for them. So I do that now too. Actually, people reach out to me. They want to start their own business, and they want to like build their own brand. And a lot of them are doing it with coffee because it's very easy to sell, especially when it's really, really good.
Yep.
And I have a gimmick. I don't put extra caffeine. I don't put BCAAs. Everybody's got something. People are putting CBD in coffee, which is blowing my mind. But they're sacrificing on coffee beans. So, I don't do that. So they want to build their brand, which I've already got an influencer that's doing that right now. Wants to build their brand, and she has purchased a lot of coffee from me. I had a 50-pound order that just went out yesterday.
Nice.
Bags and shit, has her own labels and everything, and I'm already paid and I'm moving on. And when she runs out, I want her to succeed because that means she's going to buy more from me. So I support her in any way that I can, as far as like giving her advice on shipping and stuff like that. And I just think that's how the world should be more. It's like, be willing to lift others up, because as you lift them up, you rise higher. And I've ran into too much of that in the civilian world and the military world. That's why I left the military. People were too willing to step on other people in order to get higher. That's just not the way it works.
No.
You know that when you're in the water and you push someone down, you don't go higher.
Right.
You actually go lower as far as
ethically. Yeah.
But like morals and everything, all that aside, the only way to lift someone up is the only way to rise is by lifting someone up as well. And so I've really tried to adopt that, man, and just take that whole culture, see someone that needs help, coaching, you know, when it comes to my business, like not extend myself to where I'm going broke, but man, if I can help out, why not? Because that person's going to remember that. And swimmers did that for me when I was a young shithead swimmer. So I'm hoping to pay it back and to get
pay it forward, baby. Pay it forward. That's awesome.
Yeah. So all in all, long story short, I miss the brotherhood, but it's always there. It never really left. It's still there. I can reach out to any swimmer anytime, and they're like, "Dude, I want to buy your coffee. I heard you're a swimmer. Dude, I was, RS number, 7." I'm like, "What?" I got Butch buys my coffee.
Awesome.
Out, the legend.
Yeah.
I get Watson and Hall on board too, but
yeah. Good luck.
Every swimmer that I come across, they're very supportive about it, which is great. Everybody's lifting each other up, and it's great to see the retirements, and it's great to see guys doing what you're doing that are still out, still doing great things, man. It's still keeping the swimmer community alive.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun.
A lot of people think we're crazy, man. So it's good to see like-minded.
You know what? My wife still thinks I'm a little crazy. I'm okay with it. Maybe I am. Yeah. Dude, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your stuff tonight, man. This is awesome.
Thank you for having me. I tend to roll on, but it's just exciting to be on here and talk with you guys, man. It was fun.
It's good. And get your butt to a jiu-jitsu gym and get some coffee. I got you.
There's nothing in the world like being able to defend yourself and stay caffeinated while doing it. So.
Yeah. Oh, your next slogan right there.
I sell Flippin coffee for millions. I'm going to make Flip coffee because I named my bulldog Flip. I'm going to put his face on the cover, and then I'm going to make another million.
Hey, come on. Dude, I love it. Awesome. Right on, man. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Please take a minute and, like my daughters like to tell me, like and subscribe. Oh yeah. I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story that they would be willing to share, I would be humbled and honored to have you as a guest. Or if you have any questions about any of the rescues or anything else that we talk about here on this podcast, send me an email. TheRealResQ@gmail.com. That's TheRealResQ@gmail.com. You can also check us out on our Facebook and Instagram page at The Real ResQ. That's at TheRealResQ. I also want to give a special thank you to all of you staying on the watch today. Always remember that when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, fly safe and swim hard.